Hello, everyone, and welcome to Film Etc., the only movie review podcast you need in life. My name is Mike Webb. I'll be your host, and normally I do this podcast for reviewing the new releases of the week, but this is not the case because today the Academy Award nominations just dropped, and I will give you my thoughts on it. The Academy Awards, or the Oscars, are basically the most significant movie award show in history. I mean, there's no easy way to describe it. They have their ups and downs and whatnots, but today I am here specifically to tell you all the nominations. There are going to be some that you might expect, some surprises along the way, I will say, but who knows? But in case you guys are new to the show, I usually do this spiel, even though there isn't a new release of the week, but I'm excited to give you all my thoughts on this year's Academy Award nominations. It's its 94th year, which is insane. It's about to have its centennial award show within 6 years. But without further ado, I can't wait to tell you all my thoughts on the Oscar nominations. So let's get started, shall we? In case you guys are new to the show, or if you need a little bit of a refresher, but I usually do like a little heads up before each segment where I would tell the public I am autistic or diagnosed with autism for that matter, because I don't typically do well in conversation around other people. I'm kind of a very shy person, but you may hear my wording get a little mixed up and whatnot, but I hope you enjoy this episode about the Academy Award nominations. So thanks for listening. Since its inaugural ceremony back in 1929, the Academy Awards are given out annually by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences for recognition of excellence in cinematic achievements. Nicknamed the Oscar, they are regarded by many as the most prestigious and significant awards not just for film, but in the whole entertainment industry. The Academy membership is composed of people around the world actively working in the film industry. The members are divided into different branches, like, for example, actors nominate actors, directors nominate directors, etc. However, all members of the Academy get to vote for the coveted Best Picture category. Previous Best Picture winners range from all sorts of movies like It Happened One Night, Casablanca, On the Waterfront, Lawrence of Arabia, The Godfather, Amadeus, The Silence of the Lambs, No Country for Old Men, and Parasite. Now, for this special episode, I will go down one by one of the 20 feature film categories this year. I'm not going to go over the 3 short film categories because, in general, a lot of people are not familiar with them. And by the end, there will be a tally on how many nominations each film scored. So let's start off with our technical categories and work our way up to Best Picture. The nominees for achievement in visual effects are Dune, Free Guy, No Time to Die, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and Spider-Man No Way Home. Overall, my thoughts on the visual effects category, it's pretty solid, I would say. I was very surprised that Free Guy got in. Had I did a segment where I did Oscar predictions, instead of Free Guy, I had Matrix Resurrections in there, but it's not there. Godzilla vs. Kong is not there. No Black Widow, no Eternals, none of the big, heavy, bloated CGI stuff. No Ghostbusters Afterlife as well. But I would say overall a very solid list. No Time to Die, not huge in visual effects, but it uses visual effects when it needs it. But there isn't like big motion capture creatures or anything like that. So I get kind of the diverse of the visual effects field overall. All right, next category. Let's get on with it, shall we? The nominees for Best Sound are Belfast, Dune, No Time to Die, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Now, here's the thing. When I was growing up watching the Academy Awards, they would have 2 sound categories, sound mixing and sound editing. But since none of us can figure out the specifics between those 2 awards, it wasn't until last year where the Academy decided they're going to combine the 2 into just one sound category in general. But yeah, overall, I will say, if I did my predictions, I only had 3 right instead of the 5 that I had. I did not have Power of the Dog or West Side Story. I had Quiet Place Part 2 and Spider-Man No Way Home, which did not make the cut. Edgar Wright's movie Last Night in Soho was shortlisted but didn't make the cut. Matrix was there. Tick Tick Boom was there as well. Sometimes when you're in the sound category, they go for some of the big blockbusters and some of the musical stuff aspects of it all. But yeah, all right, let's get on to the next category. The nominees for Best Original Song are Be Alive from King Richard, music and lyrics by Beyonce and Dixon. Dos Oruguitas from Encanto, music and lyrics by Lin-Manuel Miranda. Down to Joy from Belfast, music and lyrics by Van Morrison. No Time to Die from No Time to Die, music and lyrics by Billie Eilish and Phineas O'Connell. Somehow You Do from Four Good Days, music and lyrics by Diane Warren. Now, probably the biggest surprise in this category is basically the Diane Warren song, which is from a movie like no one's heard about. Apparently, it's a movie starring Glenn Close and Mila Kunis, and it premiered at Sundance in 2020, but didn't get a theatrical release in 2021. But apparently, there is a original song penned by Diane Warren, who to this day has gotten, I think it's either 13 or 14 Oscar nominations and hasn't won. She's written for movies like the Armageddon song that Aerosmith performed. There are other songs as well, but I can't name them all. But yeah, I don't know about that one. The rest I'm all okay with. King Richard, Encanto, Belfast, No Time to Die. One big omission is the Ariana Grande Kid Cudi song from Don't Look Up, which I'm not a huge fan of the movie Don't Look Up, but seeing the song not on there is kind of a little bit interesting. Also, nothing from the movie Annette, which the band Sparks wrote all the songs for. But yeah, nothing else to say about that. Let's move on to the next category. The nominees for Best Original Score are Nicholas Britell for Don't Look Up, Hans Zimmer for Dune, Jermaine Franco for Encanto, Alberto Iglesias for Parallel Mothers, and Johnny Greenwood for The Power of the Dog. The only shocking nomination I would say is Parallel Mothers getting in. But I will say, though, Encanto, I think it's the first animated Disney score since Mulan, I want to say. Maybe there was something else and I'm probably forgetting. But yeah, I expected Johnny Greenwood to get in for Power of the Dog, but no Johnny Greenwood for Spencer, which is kind of a shame. Don't Look Up. It's a fine score, I would say. Again, not a huge fan of the movie, but probably a big omission is Alexander Desplat's French Dispatch score and his contribution to it. But yeah, big omission there. Nothing else to add to it. Let's get to the next category. The nominees for achievement in makeup and hairstyling are Coming to America, Cruella, Dune, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and House of Gucci. In my predictions, I was predicting a few nominations for House of Gucci, but unfortunately, this is the lone nomination that House of Gucci got. I was wanting to get, I'll say it in a later part of the episode, but I originally had Nightmare Alley instead of Coming to America in my predictions. But yeah, the makeup and hairstyling, Eyes of Tammy Faye, it's very noticeable. Like, it's the one nomination that easily gets into makeup. Dune, I'm happy to see here. Cruella is an obvious choice. But yeah, nothing else too shabby about it. Let's head to the next category. The nominees for achievement in costume design are Cruella, Cyrano, Dune, Nightmare Alley, and West Side Story. This is one of the categories that I put House of Gucci in, but ultimately did not end up on the list. I had Gucci over Nightmare Alley in general. But yeah, most of these, they're just like obvious picks, I would say. Cruella, Cyrano, Dune, West Side Story. I would have liked to, if I like did my own thing, I would probably put in Tragedy of Macbeth or The Green Knight or The Last Duel. One of those one of those movies I would put in there if I were to run. But from what I've been hearing all over, like all the awards guilds and whatnot, I just had to put it there. Yeah, the costume design. Also, the reason why I'm not predicting like on who's gonna win, because I'm gonna say that for a later episode. Probably like the Oscars aren't for like another month and a half, I would say. But yeah, just keep a note. But anyway, guys, let's move on to the next category. The nominees for achievement in film editing are Don't Look Up, Dune, King Richard, The Power of the Dog, and Tick, Tick, Boom. All right, let's get this right off the bat. The editing in Don't Look Up is atrocious. It is frenetic. It has this very jarring style that I just couldn't get attached to. But on the other hand, Tick Tick Boom does it in a much better way, and I'm happy to see it on here. I'm also happy to see Dune get in for editing, Power of the Dog. King Richard, very well edited film as well. I would have liked to put what would be a good movie to be in the editing nomination? Licorice Pizza was a big omission there. There's no West Side Story. So yeah. Anyway, let's get on to the next category, which is one of my favorite categories. Let's see what it is. The nominees for achievement in cinematography are Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. A few noticeable omissions in this category. In fact, Belfast wasn't even in the last category as well, and it's not here in cinematography either. I would have liked to see movies like The Green Knight or Passing, which unfortunately didn't get anything. Spoiler alert, sorry. But yeah, Dune, incredible. Nightmare Alley, incredible. Power of the Dog, incredible. Tragedy of Macbeth, extraordinarily gorgeous, like something to watch. And West Side Story, no surprise, they nominated Janusz Kaminski. But yeah, nothing too surprising or anything. But yeah, again, if I were to run these, I would have put in movies like The Green Knight or Passing or what else. I mean, I can't think of it at this time, but yeah, let's get on to the next category. The nominees for achievement in production design are Dune, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, The Tragedy of Macbeth, and West Side Story. Interesting to note that this is the same 5 movies that got a cinematography nomination, and usually movies that get nominated for both production design and cinematography don't necessarily co-align with one each other, which is very, very odd. But yeah, very big omission is The French Dispatch. I think that was like The French Dispatch's last opportunity to get in, and unfortunately it ended up with a big donut. But yeah, production design all around the board, very incredible. No Belfast once again. There's a couple others, but I'm trying to write. No Licorice Pizza. No Last Night in Soho. No Cruella. No Cyrano. There, none of like the big period pieces, I would say, didn't get in. We're almost about halfway through, so let's get on with the next category. We are now at that point where we're starting to get above the line now. The big ones, the major ones, I would say. Now we're going to start off with the nominees for Best Documentary Feature are Ascension, Attica, Flea, Summer of Soul, or When the Revolution Could Not Be Televised, and Riding with Fire. Now, in recent years, the documentary feature category has been quite controversial because for the past 4 years, they would snub the big frontrunner or even some of the other potential nominees to be in there. Like, for instance, they snubbed the Jane Goodall documentary. They didn't nominate the Mr. Rogers documentary or Three Identical Strangers. They didn't nominate Apollo 11. And last year, they snubbed Dick Johnson is Dead and Boys State, probably 2 of the best documentaries like last year, I would say. I am happy to see, though, that the frontrunner, Summer of Soul, did make it into the final cut, but the number 2 movie did not. That was The Rescue, which is by filmmakers Chai Vasarhelyi and Jimmy Chin. They were the Oscar-winning filmmakers behind Free Solo. But yeah, it's quite shocking to see. The only other documentary I saw on this final list is Flea, which is a Danish animated documentary. and it's really really good. I will say that, and I'm not just saying this because I'm trying to like find the words or something like that, but I've just been lacking in the documentary category. I didn't see the other three that were on that list, but yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Now let's get on to the next category. The nominees for Best Animated Feature Film are Encanto, Flea, Luca, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, and Raya and the Last Dragon. This was a very easy prediction. I got it. It was one of the two categories from my Oscar predictions that I got 5 for 5 on. I predicted all of that. Encanto got 3 nominations. I mentioned Flea in the documentary category. They used rotoscope animation to like hide the real life subjects' identity. Luca, I liked, but it's not Pixar's best, I would say. I'm very happy to see Mitchell's versus the Machines on here, and Ryan the Last Dragon is incredible as well. 3 Disney movies, a Netflix animated movie, and then a Danish animated documentary as well. But yeah, nothing too surprising here. One of the big omissions is the Japanese anime film Belle, which I've heard rave reviews about. No Sing 2, no Ron's Gone Wrong, but yeah, overall, it was an easy list to predict and it definitely paid off. So yeah, let's move on to the next category. The nominees for Best International Feature Film are from Japan, Drive My Car, from Denmark, Flee, from Italy, The Hand of God, from Bhutan, Lunana, a Yak in the Classroom, and from Norway, The Worst Person in the World. Now, this category was originally titled Best Foreign Language Film, but it wasn't until the year Alfonso Cuarón's Roma won where the Academy started to question itself on what is really foreign language, because Roma was co-produced with it's a co-production between Mexico and the U.S. So they decided to change the name of the category to Best International Feature Film, and then a year later, Parasite became the first inaugural winner under the new name. And so it's a very interesting category, I will say. I've only seen The Worst Person in the World and Flea. I did see Flea, but yeah, 3 different categories that Flea has been in: documentary, animated feature, and now international feature. But yeah, I am going to review Worst Person in the World for my next episode. But yeah, but I heard the strong fronter in this is Drive My Car. I heard so things on The Hand of God, but the director of it is a previous winner. He won for The Great Beauty back in 2014. And then this film from Bhutan called Lunana, a Yak in the Classroom, which I know very, very little about. But yeah, there's some big omissions here. There's no A Hero from Iran, no I'm Your Man from Germany, Compartment Number 6 from Finland, Lamb from Iceland, which has Noomi Rapace. There was also a movie from Spain called The Good Boss, starring Javier Bardem. That was it was like one of the 3 films that the country of Spain had to handpick, and they chose that over Pedro Almodovar's Parallel Mothers. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm not making predictions here at this time, but I'll tell you on a later episode. But yeah, I felt like I'm lacking a bit as well in the international feature film category. And one other big omission is the French film Titan, which was France's submission, but it didn't make the short list in December. So yeah. Anyway, let's get on to the next category as we move along. The nominees for adapted screenplay are Sean Heder for Coda, Ryusuke Hamaguchi and Takamasa Oe for Drive My Car, John Spates, Denis Villeneuve, and Eric Roth for Dune, Maggie Gyllenhaal for The Lost Daughter, and Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the screenplay categories, they divide it into 2 separate categories: adapted and original. Original is for the ones that are directly more towards the story, and adapted is the one that they're adapting from like previous media, whether it's like a play, a short story, or even a magazine article. But yeah, This was the only other category that I got 5 for 5. There were some notable omissions, mainly Tragedy of Macbeth, Passing. Passing got nothing, unfortunately. West Side Story didn't make the cut either. But yeah, very, very interesting category. I did predict those 5 in my predictions, and I'm very happy. I'm very pleased about it. I made a last minute decision and switched West Side Story with Dune. And I'm surprised that Dune got a screenplay nomination. So yeah, nothing else to say now. Let's move on to the next category. The nominees for original screenplay are Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, Adam McKay and David Sirota for Don't Look Up, Zach Balin for King Richard, Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, and Eskil Vogt and Joachim Trier for The Worst Person in the World. I will say this, though. Everybody on their predictions page wanted Aaron Sorkin for Being the Ricardos, and they were for certain that it was going to get in there. But it didn't, and I'm happy for it. And they instead went with Worst Person in the World, which was a big surprise. A lot of people thought the movie Mass was going to get in. People thought Come On, Come On was going to get in. What was going to be like the 5th slot? Also, normally there's usually like one movie that gets like a lone like screenwriting nomination. That is unfortunately not the case this year because all the screenplay nominees have more than one nomination. So yeah, this is like the first time since like the year 2000, I would say, that all the screenplay nominees had more than one nomination in another category. But yeah, I'm fine with Belfast. King Richard is okay. I would see PTA win for Licorice Pizza. That's my theory. Like if I were to predict right now, but again, I am not predicting these right now because the Oscars are more than a month away. But I'm going to do a video later on. In fact, I was going to tell you guys by the end of all this predictions, but I am going to do a video probably sometime when we're closer to Oscar weekend or whatnot, that I'll do a separate video and give Oscar predictions. So yeah, I would put Mass, Come On, Come On. There's a couple others, but I'm trying to forget what. Oh, French Dispatch did get a Writers Guild nomination, but it unfortunately it did not get in. And again, French Dispatch gets a big donut. So yeah. All right, we're in the home stretch now. Let's get to the next category. The nominees for Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role are Ciarán Hinds in Belfast, Troy Kotsur in Coda, Jesse Plemons in The Power of the Dog, J.K. Simmons in Being the Ricardos, and Cody Smith-McPhee in The Power of the Dog. Now, first and foremost, in my predictions, I actually had Jared Leto get in for House of Gucci, and I wanted the internet to just troll on him to say that he got both a Razzie and an Oscar nomination for House of Gucci, and he would become like the 4th person ever to do that. But unfortunately, that is not the case. 4th actor, I should point out. There have been other people not in the acting field in general that have been nominated for both Razzie and an Oscar for the same movie that they worked on. But yeah, and Jared Leto unfortunately did not make in. As for the rest of this list, a lot of people were expecting Jamie Dornan to get in for Belfast and have both the Belfast boys be nominated. But instead, we got the Dog Boys, both Jesse Plemons and Cody Smith-McPhee. Plemons did get a BAFTA nomination, and Cody Smith-McPhee has been winning with the critics groups everywhere, won a Golden Globe. The biggest surprise for me is J.K. Simmons because he's fine, but the movie itself, it's not that great. Being the Ricardos, he is the only one in the category that is a previous nominee / winner. The rest are all first time nominees. Even Troy Kotsur becoming the first male actor who is deaf to be nominated. His co-star Marley Matlin won for her role in the film Children of a Lesser God back in 1986. So yeah, I'm happy to see Troy Kotsur get in here. But yeah, Plemons surprised me. So yeah, let's get to the next category, shall we? The nominees for performance by an actress in a supporting role are Jessie Buckley in The Lost Daughter, Ariana DeBose in West Side Story, Judi Dench in Belfast, Kirsten Dunst in The Power of the Dog, and Anjanou Ellis in King Richard. Okay, now this supporting actress category went a little out of whack in my favor because I had Katrina Balfe for Belfast instead of Judi Dench. Judi Dench came out of nowhere. She wasn't even nominated. I mean, she kind of had this like early word of mouth saying that she would also get nominated and that Balfe was the more I would say the more driving force of the two of them. But unfortunately, it was Judi Dench who pulled out in the very end because she didn't get nominated anywhere else for this movie. Not the Screen Actors Guild, not the BAFTA, not the Golden Globes, not the Critics' Choice, but for some odd reason here. And this is her 8th nomination, I would say. I could be wrong though, but yeah. And there's a couple other big omissions, but yeah, Ruth Nega in passing did not get in. There's a few others. Rita Moreno and West Side Story didn't get in, but I'm happy to see Ariana DeBose get in here. Kirsten Dunst, Power of the Dog, Anjanou Ellis, King Richard. Probably the biggest surprise out of this entire category, besides Judi Dench, is Jessie Buckley in The Lost Daughter. I thought she was incredible. She plays the young version of Olivia Colman's character, and yeah, it's pretty interesting to see. But yeah, again, I wish Katrina Balfe was there instead of Judi Dench. I wish Ruth Nega for passing was there. And Dowd and Mass unfortunately got nothing. So yeah. So yeah, those are my thoughts on actress and a supporting role. Now let's get to I failed to mention both Kirsten Dunst. Kirsten Dunst her partner is Jesse Plemons. So we have a couple that are nominated together for the same movie in the supporting category. So that's kind of fun to talk about. So yeah. All right. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the supporting actress category. Now let's get to the next one. Oh, and before we move on, I failed to mention in the supporting actor category, they also snubbed Ben Affleck in The Tender Bar, Bradley Cooper in Licorice Pizza, a couple other people as well. I can't remember. And Jamie Dornan in Belfast, but I kind of mentioned that as well. But yeah, so yeah, let's move on now. The nominees for performance by an actor in a leading role are Javier Bardem in Being the Ricardos, Benedict Cumberbatch in The Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield in Tick, Tick, Boom, Will Smith in King Richard, and Denzel Washington in The Tragedy of Macbeth. Actor in a leading role is something. I like Andrew Garfield. I like Denzel Washington. I like Benedict Cumberbatch. But Will Smith, for like all the awards attention, he is clearly the favorite to win here. It's probably his to lose, but if there's anyone that's probably like competition against him, it's either Benedict Cumberbatch or Andrew Garfield. Now let's talk about a nomination. Despite the fact that I'm not the biggest fan of Don't Look Up, there is one nomination that truly pissed me off this morning, and that is Javier Bardem in Being the Ricardos playing Desi Arnaz, a Cuban, played by a Spanish actor. He doesn't even sound Cuban in the movie. And I get it. People like to nominate movies about old entertainment and whatnot. But that movie is just so how should I put it? I just found it to be boring. It's like a drag. It just felt very awards baity and very safe. I'm actually happy that Aaron Sorkin didn't get a screenplay nomination for this movie. Oh my goodness. But yeah, if there's one nomination that I was like upset about, it is Javier Bardem and Being the Ricardos. I'm not saying he was bad in the movie. It's just there have been other actors, particularly other performers that I would have picked for like my fifth slot. I would put in Bradley Cooper in Nightmare Alley or Nicolas Cage in Pig. I would even put in Clifton Collins Jr. in Jockey over Bardem, but he just felt like the safe pick. He was fine in being the Ricardos, but I just don't get the fact that he's playing the Cuban actor Desi Arnaz, even though for the wildest fact that he is Spanish. Yeah, but there is a certain someone. Speaking about couples who got nominated, let's get to the next category, shall we? The nominees for performance by an actress in a leading role are Jessica Chastain in The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman in The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz in Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman in Being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart in Spencer. So for Best Actress, I was worried for a little bit because the frontrunner for the longest time seemed to be Kristen Stewart in Spencer. And then all of a sudden, she started to disappear because she did get a Golden Globe and Critics' Choice nod, but somehow missed the Screen Actors Guild and BAFTA. And for a brief moment, I was worried, oh no, is Spencer not going to get anything? And then at the very last moment, when they said her name, I just like cheered for joy and I just said, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. She deserves this nomination. And I was so happy. Although, interestingly, though, none of the BAFTA nominations for actress, because the BAFTA recently, their nominations in the acting and directing category are like, they're like voted down by like a jury of like 6 to 12 people at least. And we don't see any of the nominees from BAFTA here. In fact, Lady Gaga was the only actress who got all 4 of the big industry-based awards, but she missed the Oscar for some odd reason. And the other nominees, Jessica Chastain and Tammy Faye, she's fine. Basically, this movie works because of her performance in general. Penelope Cruz, I can't comment on that because I haven't watched Parallel Mothers, although she and Javier Bardem both got nominated, but for like 2 different movies. I mentioned that both Jesse Plemons and Kirsten Dunst both got nominated because they're a couple in real life. They both got nominated for Power of the Dog. Both Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem both got nominated as well. So we have 2 couples nominated for acting in this year's Oscars. So yeah, Olivia Colman, spectacular in The Lost Daughter. She and Jessie Buckley, they now share the distinct relation where I think, I don't know how many times, it's probably the 3rd time that 2 performers get nominated for both lead and supporting for playing the same character. That happened to Kate Winslet twice for Titanic and for the movie Iris. Titanic with her and Gloria Stewart being nominated, and Iris with her and Judi Dench being nominated. Kate Winslet, but yeah. And Nicole Kidman in Being the Ricardos felt like a very safe choice. I mentioned this, that it's kind of like Hollywood loving old entertainment and whatnot. It just felt very safe. But yeah, she wasn't considered the front runner up until she won the Golden Globe. And now we're getting this like story of how she could become a 2-time Oscar winner. I mean, if you want it to be like that, but I don't know why. And I don't see why. Like, it kind of like how I felt when I watched Renee Zellweger's performance in Judy. The reason why she won the Oscar is that she is great in the movie alone. It's like one of those movies where the main performer is like the best thing of an otherwise very shallow movie. And that I think I think Nicole Kidman's performance is kind of similar to Renee Zellweger playing Judy Garland in the movie Judy. And there are some movies like that. Julianne Moore and Still Alice is another one of those. And I can't remember who else, but yeah, unfortunately, if I were to like narrow it down, I keep making all these predictions, but I said I want to do it in like another video. I hope you all forgive me, but it could be like a 2-horse race between Kidman. Kristen Stewart could pull off an upset and be like this like underdog story. But yeah, so yeah, those are my thoughts on actress in a leading role. And now let's get to the last 2 categories, shall we? The nominees for achievement in directing are Kenneth Branagh for Belfast, Ryosuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car, Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza, Jane Campion for The Power of the Dog, and Steven Spielberg for West Side Story. Okay, first and foremost, where is Denis Villeneuve? Where is the director of Dune? The movie didn't direct itself. Where is Denis? He did get a screenplay nomination, but where is his director nomination? This sucks. If there's one big snub, I'm upset about it. That is Villeneuve missing out for director. I'm upset. But the rest of the nominees, I'm totally fine with. PTA, Jane Campion, who became the first woman to be nominated for Best Director twice, which I will say. Branagh, his directing's all right, I would say. But Belfast was considered like awards bait from the beginning. A lot of people compare this to Alfonso Cuarón's Roma. But yeah, Branagh's direction is actually it's more than okay, I would say. It's pretty good, I would say. But it's his first directing nomination since his debut with Henry V. And then you have Steven Spielberg, as always, for West Side Story. It's his first directing nomination since Lincoln. In fact, Steven Spielberg has been nominated for director in 6 different decades of his career. He was nominated for Close Encounters of the Third Kind in the 70s. He's been nominated for a couple in the 80s. He won in the 90s twice for both Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan. He was nominated in 2005 for Munich, and then he was nominated in 2012 for Lincoln, and now 2021 for West Side Story. But yeah, he just put his own spin on the classic musical, and it doesn't 100% make everything better about the original West Side Story. There's still some flaws with it overall. The biggest surprise is for sure Ryosuke Hamaguchi, but recently it shouldn't come as a surprise because recently we've been having a bunch of directors of international cinema get nominated or even come close to winning. We had Bong Joon-ho won for Parasite. Well, the year before that, we had Alfonso Cuarón winning for Roma because the movie was mostly in Spanish. And then we had Bong Joon-ho win the year after that for Parasite. And then Thomas Vinterberg was nominated for another round last year, which blew everybody's socks off. That nomination alone came out of nowhere. And now we have Ryosuke Hamaguchi nominated for Drive My Car, which I have yet to see, by the way. So yeah, those are my thoughts on director. And now let's get to the big one, shall we? And finally, I am pleased to announce that the 10 films selected as Best Picture nominees for 2021 are Belfast, Coda, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, Dune, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, The Power of the Dog, and West Side Story. Now, for the past couple of years, I did this thing where I got to watch all the Best Picture nominees before the nominees were announced. Unfortunately, I did it for the past 2 years. I did it with the 92nd Academy Award nominees for Best Picture, and I did it with the 93rd Academy Award nominees for Best Picture. And unfortunately, this is the year that kind of broke the streak. Because of all the films that were nominated for Best Picture this year, I saw all but one, and that is the little Japanese film that could, Drive My Car, which got probably almost close to, if not the exact same categories that Parasite won for. And with that, Drive My Car, it became the first it became the first film that's fully from Japan to be nominated. We had Letters from Iwo Jima that was in Japanese, but it was an American production. But Drive My Car is the first Japanese production to be nominated for Best Picture. It is the 13th non-English language film overall to be nominated for Best Picture. Every other movie I have seen, if I were to take one movie if I were to take a movie or two off, I would probably take off Don't Look Up, maybe King Richard. Every other movie I liked. Belfast, I would probably like take it off as well, but I'm happy with Coda. I'm happy with Dune, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, which I've heard recently it's been getting like a second life because of a black and white release. So that's pretty cool. The Power of the Dog, no exception, no surprise, I should say. And West Side Story, no surprise as well. A couple big omissions. No Tick Tick Boom, no Tragedy of Macbeth, which I would have loved to put on here. A lot of people were suggesting that Being the Ricardos could get in. That unfortunately did not happen, even though Being the Ricardos did get a Producers Guild nomination for Best Picture, which, no thank you. But yeah, if I were to like name my own Best Picture nominees, I would also put in movies like Passing or Come On, Come On, which both those movies got nothing, got 0 nominations, unfortunately. I would also put in another foreign movie on here, Worst Person in the World. Yeah. But Best Picture overall, mostly solid list. I don't care for Don't Look Up that much. Okay. And yeah, King Richard's fine. Belfast is fine. Licorice Pizza, I would have to watch again to like understand it better, but I enjoyed it for what it was. But yeah. So yeah. Anyway, I think the only thing left to do now is to give you a full tally on how many films got nominated. Like each of the films that got however many nominations for this year's Academy Awards. So I'll be right back in a little bit. Okay, guys, now it's time for me to give you the full tally of the however movies that got multiple nominations in general. And it's kind of a no-brainer, but Jane Campion's The Power of the Dog scored the most with 12 nominations. That includes 2 Best Supporting Actor nods for both Jesse Plemons and Cody Smith-McPhee. It is the first movie directed by a woman to get 10 or more Oscar nominations. So kudos to Jane Campion for keeping her filmmaking relevant. In fact, this was her first feature film since Bright Star, which came out all the way back in 2009. She's worked on the Top of the Lake miniseries for the Sundance Channel, I believe, during the 2010s. But yeah, I'm very excited to see her. Denis Villeneuve's Dune came in at a close second with 10 nominations. Even though Denis Villeneuve missed director, it still got a bunch of technical categories. I mean, it was like no surprise. And it did get a screenplay nomination, I will say that. Belfast, and I failed to mention this, but Kenneth Branagh became the first individual to be nominated in 7 categories by virtue of his nods in the Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay category. He's been nominated before for lead actor, supporting actor, and I believe he was also nominated for adapted screenplay for Hamlet, as well as short film for a short film he did in the 90s called Swan Song. But yeah, Branagh is the first individual to be nominated in 7 different categories in his career. Yeah. So yeah, 7 nominations for Belfast, and West Side Story as well got 7 nominations. In fact, Steven Spielberg's West Side Story became the second remake of a previous Best Picture winner to be nominated for the same award, following the 1962 remake of Mutiny on the Bounty, which won Best Picture back in 1935. So yeah, that's kind of interesting there. Okay, let's see. I'm using the Wikipedia page and I'm just like scrolling down just to see. So yeah, King Richard got 6 nominations, followed by Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, and Nightmare Alley got 4. Nightmare Alley was kind of like the big surprise in Best Picture, which I failed to mention. It only got a couple technical categories, and then in a big shocking like revelation, it also got a Best Picture nomination. I mean, the Academy likes Del Toro. His previous film, The Shape of Water, won Best Picture. So yeah, I got nothing against that. We have a lot of movies that got 3 nominations. We have Being the Ricardos, that's all for acting. Coda, I mentioned that Troy Kotzer became the first male actor who is deaf to get nominated. We have Encanto, got 3 nominations. Flea got 3 nominations. Licorice Pizza, which I'm surprised only got 3 nominations, and they're all mainly for PTA. He produced it, got a Best Picture nomination, he got the director nomination, and he got the screenplay nomination. We have The Lost Daughter acting for Jessie Buckley and Olivia Colman, as well as the adapted screenplay nomination for Maggie Gyllenhaal. And this is Maggie Gyllenhaal's directorial debut, by the way. We have No Time to Die, got 3 nominations: song, sound, and visual effects. And then we have Tragedy of Macbeth with 3, Denzel Washington, production design, and cinematography. And then with 2 nominations each, we have Cruella, The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Parallel Mothers, Tick Tick Boom, and The Worst Person in the World. Yeah, Tick Tick Boom got an editing nomination along with Andrew Garfield. Parallel Mothers got score and Penelope Cruz. Eyes of Tammy Faye got Jessica Chastain and makeup. Cruella got makeup and costume design. And Worst Person in the World got international film and a surprise original screenplay nomination, which I'm very happy about. I'm very happy to see. But yeah. So yeah, this is probably the longest podcast that I've ever done on this show. And I hope you all went down and then I help you like go through all the nominations. This was a fun day. Whenever I talk about the Academy Award nominations, no matter how much I like despise or something like that, I mean, like at the end of the day, I just feel like it's going to be cemented for all the time being, and you're going to be upset that some of your favorite movies don't get in, but hey, it's life. What are you going to do? But yeah. So those are my thoughts on the entire episode of the nominations for the 94th Academy Awards. Hold on, I failed to mention on when it's going to be. But yeah, Sunday, March 27th is when the Oscars will be held. Well, that's the day they're holding the Oscars. And they're going to go back to the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles. And we have yet to find out who is hosting at the moment. Who knows? They said they were going to get a host again, but ever since that whole Kevin Hart dispute thing, because some people found like racist comments like on his Twitter feed from like way back when, all of a sudden the Oscars went hostless for like 3 to 4 consecutive years, and I heard they're gonna get a host again, but we'll see about it. So yeah. Anyway, guys. Oh, and it's on ABC. If you're wanting to figure out what channel is it on. So yeah. All right. So yeah. Oh, and the eligibility window was different than last year, because last year, since we were in a pandemic, the eligibility window last year extended to last February. And for this award season, they were nominating the films between March to the end of December. So yeah, if you're wondering why movies like Judas and the Black Messiah and The Mauritanian, even though released early in 2021 but did not appear here, the reason why is they extended the eligibility window last award season to that, and you get to see those types of movies that were on here eligible for last year's award season. But so yeah. Anyway, guys, again, those are my thoughts on the Academy Award nominations special, I hope. And yeah, let's end this episode and call it a day. And that's going to do it for the Oscar special. Thank you all so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe and follow the show on the many places that we stream, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, you name it. Please leave a good rating. Leave a 5-star review on our Apple Podcast page. That'll help get the show up to the top of the charts. Spread the word of mouth. Tell your friends all about it if you must. I'll be back with an episode very, very soon. Speaking of The Worst Person in the World, I will be reviewing that, as well as a new film on HBO Max called The Fallout. In the meantime, you can follow me on social media at Real Mike Webb on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can also follow the show at FilmETCcast on Instagram. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, I will see you all at the cinema.